Hi, everybody. Welcome. It is Wednesday. I got to figure out how do I turn the volume down on this. I'm in the office. I told you I was going to be here in the office in Vancouver, Washington. Yeah, go ahead. Jen's bringing me some yarn here. So Jen's actually here with me today. She's going to come on the camera in a little bit with us and chat. We've got a bunch of people from the office that are going to come in here today to talk to us about the crochet along and what we're working on. So hopefully everybody is joining us for the fun and everything else. As you guys come in, say hello, tell us where you're from. Tell us if you are working on the crochet along with us. Sorry, this is a different setup for me. I have a camera here this time and I have a computer here so I can read the comments. This is not normal. So hi, Chris. Hi, Maria. Hi, Angela. It is great to have you guys all here. We're talking about the Heatherly Crochet Along. If you don't know, we just sent out an email about it today, or it's coming out today, I think. And we've been posting about it on social media, but it is the Heathered Rainbow Adult Pullover. It's adult because there's a child size as well that you can get. And it's a free pattern over on our site. Alyssa is here putting in links. She just sent the link in there that you can find out all the information about it and you can join us in. So you can download the free pattern. This is what the sample looks like in the pattern. And I have a bunch of people here today to show us what colors they're working on, what yarn they've chosen to do. We got a bowl full of yarn here and we have our first guest. We have Miss Hillary. Come on over, Hillary. Hillary is our creative director, so she works with both WeCrochet and Knit Picks. We try to steal her as much as possible, let's be honest. And Hillary decided not to use Heatherly for her project. Yes, we should have said the project uses Heatherly yarn. Heatherly is on sale this month for our monthly yarn sale, so you can get 20% off right now on your Heatherly yarn if that's what you want to get. But Hillary decided to go with Capra. I must have said the wrong thing. So this is a DK weight yarn, but she did a gauge swatch and she found out what her gauge was measuring so she could figure out what size she wanted to do, which is totally fine if you do a gauge swatch. That's why gauges is so important. We talked about it last week, a week ago, something like that, and how you could use your gauge swatch to figure out what size you wanted to make and what was going to get you the right result that you wanted. You want to show us the colors you're using?
I would love to. I found an inspiration image on Pinterest that I kind of wanted to emulate, which had the pink, the mustard, a white block of white, and then the blue. With my gauge swatch, my rows were a little taller, and so I did less rows. But yeah, I'm still getting started on the sleeve.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, Hillary didn't have to do extra rows. I'm going to show you mine. I did do Heatherly and I had to add extra rows. I might have even added a couple extra. We'll see. Because I mean, it's still kind of short. It is a cropped sweater, but we'll see what happens with the ribbing and I'll make a decision on mine. I'm only back panel, so I'm working along right with you guys. I'm back panel right now. Hillary's almost done. She's adding the sleeves on. And you'll notice she's doing hers a little differently. The sleeves, you are working from the cuff up, but Hillary is attaching hers and working her shoulder down. That is something you can do. It's just a little bit of extra thinking and planning as you go because you're going to start with your largest size of or largest number of stitches decreasing as opposed to increasing up. Either way works. Do what feels good for you. With Hillary doing it this way, she can work in the round as opposed to the way the pattern is written. There's a seam right here and you're working it flat and then seaming around the armhole and down the side to make your sleeve. So I love Capra as an option. It is so soft. It is so squishy. I always forget. This is 85% merino wool, 15% cashmere. So it's truly like a little bit of luxury that you would be wearing. And the squish factor is just amazing. Yeah. And I love the colors. It's a muted palette. And you'll also notice it's not striped. Well, it kind of is, but it's like color blocked. So think about that. You're going to see a lot of differences today in the way the colors were put together. And the difference is they followed the pattern, but instead of doing, I think it's every 4 rows, then 2 rows, she just worked it until she liked the depth of that color and then switched it out. You'll also see over here, this is the way the pattern was written and it has the wider stripes and the smaller stripes. And over on this one as well, that was following the pattern too, just like this one. But you're going to see a lot of other people come in today with some different options. Thanks, Hillary.
Thank you for having me.
So yeah, anytime you see graphics and things like that, think of Hillary because she's usually behind most of them or a lot of them, which is really great. Okay, so hello to everybody else that's joining us in. Yay, we have our next guest. The next guest is Alexis. She's important to me. She's my boss. She is the director of the yarn division here. So she oversees, yeah, come on over. Okay. She oversees both knitting and crochet. And so we work very closely together.
Hello.
And she's a really special guest for us. I hope you don't mind me saying this.
No.
This is her first garment.
It is my first
Right.
crochet garment. My first crochet
Right, first-
everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So beginners, you can do it. We're here to help you. She had the staff here to be able to ask questions, but we're here. We're here on the lives. We're here on Instagram, on Facebook, on social media. Our customer service is here that you can go ahead and let us know if you have any problems along the way, and we will be able to help you out.
Definitely.
Okay, so she did use Heatherly yarn, which is called for in the pattern,
Mhm.
but you did your stripes differently.
I did.
So tell us about your striping.
So I used 4 colors. My main color was gray, and then I did, I can't remember the names right
Oh,
now.
I have it.
Sorry.
You did Gravity,
Gravity,
which is the gray,
the gray,
Teddy Bear,
which is
the
the
brown.
which actually next to the gray and the pinker one
Yeah, that's
really
otter.
highlighted some of the red in the
Right.
in the brown. So it's really
Right.
pretty.
And then the bluish color here
It's
is the bedtime.
Bedtime. And then what was I forgot what
Oh, that one, that's otter.
otter. Oh wait, is that
No,
otter?
this is otter. This is Teddy Bear.
Teddy
Yes.
bear. Yeah, teddy bear came out really orange.
Yeah.
which is really neat.
Yeah.
And then I started with the 4 stripes, and then I ended up doing 2 rather than doing. So I did a set of 4 stripes with every color, and then went to 2.
Okay.
And that's what I continued, like from the bottom up.
Very nice.
And it was my first time crocheting, and I apparently am a very loose crocheter because this is a size 4 hook on sport weight. So there is some, gaps in it, but it's nice and airy. It's
Yeah.
really light.
But
I mean,
again, we
so
looked
easy.
at the gauge that she was getting
Mhm.
to figure out the size, to know the width of her panels so that it would fit in the end.
so I actually,
You can make the adjustment. You just have to do a gauge switch.
yeah, and I ended up using the smallest size, amazingly, which I never knew. So, I was like, okay, this is great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it
It
came out
looks-
really nice.
It looks really
And I
great.
did do the, I did knit the ribbing time to get this done for the live. Otherwise, I was like, oh, this is going to take forever. So I just, but no, it came out really great, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to do some other crochet projects. So thank you.
Yeah. So just again,
Hi, everybody.
beginners can do this.
Mhm.
It's totally possible. I mean, it's one stitch throughout the entire project. There's some decreases. I don't think there's a little bit of increasing too in
Little.
some spots, but it's super easy, and we are here to help you. And again, you can see the difference. This is a much more muted palette using our new Heatherly yarns. Again, 20%
So
off for the month.
too. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and it really does soften up as you start to block it and wear it and everything else. So we love these colors.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, they came out really well.
I guess
I'm happy
maybe I
with it.
might have to do another one.
Yeah, I think you might. But yeah,
Great.
it was fun. And I think the fact that it is the one stitch, it
Mhm.
really helped me just learn this
Right.
and be able to see the mistakes, be able to see like what it's supposed to look like and the back and forth. So
Right.
it really helped me learn the stitch just by the repetitiveness
Right.
of it. So it was really fun.
Awesome.
So thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
Hi,
thanks for
everybody.
joining us.
I'll be back again sometime.
Yes, yes.
Take care.
Okay, hold up. Yes, she knit the ribbing. It is an interesting option. So you're going to see there are a couple people that did a knit ribbing. And again, a lot of the people in the office are bi-stitchable or do both knitting and crochet. And so some people decided that the ribbing was just taking them too long, or they didn't exactly like the look of the crochet ribbing. So you can always mix and match and put 2 of your crafts together if you really want to. It just takes a little bit of thinking to see how many stitches you're going to need so it doesn't bunch up too much. Okay, we have our next guest. Come on over. This is Elena. She works in our IDP program. And if you don't know what IDP is, that's okay. It's kind of like an internal designer term. But those patterns that you see on our site that are from designers, that are the paid patterns, Elena's the one who gets them all up on the site for us and makes sure the whole back end of that is working. Elena did not do Heatherly. She went with our High Desert yarn. And this is our American made yarn. So the wool starts up here in the Northwest. It heads over to the East Coast to be spun and milled and dyed. Then it goes into the middle of the country to our warehouse to be shipped out to all of you. It's a phenomenal yarn.
It's my favorite. I have an obsession with it.
I think every project Elena does is in high desert.
It is. I think this is my third high desert garment, and I have another one on knitting needles.
Nice.
I have
I mean,
more for 2 more.
it is a great yarn, and everything's. And I do want to remind you guys, High Desert and Heatherly that we were just showing do come in a hank, so you're going to have to wind them up. There are some options of High Desert in a skein. This is 100 grams, right? And these are 50 grams.
Yes.
So depending on the color, it's just a new batch that we brought in. So depending on the color, you're going to get it in one of the 2 ways. If it's in a hank or whatever yarn it is, you are going to need to wind it up. We highly recommend a ball, winder, and Swift. At the very least, a Swift. Take it from me. I thought I could do my white by hand during a meeting. That did not work out too well.
Even if you don't have a Swift, you can just drape it over the back of a chair.
Right.
And then kind of go from there, but it's a little fiddly trying to keep track of it going
Yes,
around. But
yes.
at least that way it won't tangle.
Yeah, I've become a big ball of, yarn barf that we all talk about. So Elena also did different striping, as you can see here. She did the wider stripes and then a little bit of a smaller stripe. And you'll also notice she has the one stripe of the purpley color here, and then the rest is that gray and the black and the cream. No, that's not black, gray, 2 grays. Sorry, 2 grays,
Like
black and a cream. But you can see what a difference that makes between like my striping, the way the pattern was written with these smaller stripes and then tiny stripes with the larger striping. So you have totally different options of what you can do, not only with color choices, but again, with your striping choices and how that's going to look. You did the crocheted ribbing, but yours is different.
Yeah. So instead of doing it, starting with a chain and kind of going back and forth, I did it in the round, and I did a front post half double crochet and then a back post half double crochet. And I just found that worked a lot better for me, and also just having the whole thing crochet, because I personally just didn't really like how the knit ribbing looked along with the crochet fabric, but I went off script so much on this.
Might as well keep going.
Yeah, my crochet gauge is always cuckoo bananas. It's either too small or too big. It's never on point. So I decided to swatch and just go with the fabric that I like the best. So my row gauge is a lot shorter. And so how I planned out the striping was figuring out how many total stripes I needed for the body, and then how many rows I would need to get the repeating pattern of the stripes going down.
And when we talk about that, I have to say, I don't think anybody on the team got exact gauge.
I don't think so either.
I think we were able to hit the stitch gauge, which in this pattern is most important because that's going to dictate the width of your pattern. But I don't think a single person got row gauge for this. So again, we just had to do a little bit of math to figure out how many rows we were going to need based off of the gauge in the pattern. And then we all just either added rows or subtracted rows to get the length that we wanted. Because again, this is a little bit of a crop sweater. So if you want it a little bit longer, you are going to have to add some rows in there. What we'll do too is, because this is a different ribbing, we'll take some photos of this and we'll post it on Instagram just so you guys can see, and we'll remind you because it's a little hard to see from there. But this ribbing is just using single crochets in the back loop going across, and then you're working back and you're going back and forth in rows, where Elena's is worked in the round, and she just picked up the stitch or worked into the stitches around the top in the round and then worked how many rows she wanted. It gives a really great ribbed look. It does look different than this. So we'll show the 2 images so that you can see it. They're loving all the ideas with the ribbing. Some are saying that they struggle with ribbing. And I do think this is a really great option, because the ribbing, the way the pattern is, you have to work like slip stitches into the main body. And sometimes that can be hard when you're counting or trying to figure out, especially if it's your first garment. So this is a great way, because you'll know the number of stitches in your first row, and then that's the same number all the way around for your project. I think it turned out great.
Yeah, thanks. I love it.
Yeah. So again, when you see those patterns going up, she's the one behind it. And so, you can think of her while you're making your next project. So,
Great. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Okay, so we have our next guest who's going to be coming in here. And she is a special guest for us. And she is a special guest because she has now made 2 sweaters, working on her 3rd. Yes, an overachiever in the office, but we love it. This is Carleen. Carleen is in charge of our Amazon ordering process. So you can get some of our yarns, our ball winders and things like that on Amazon if you wanted to. But Carleen is a proficient crocheter, and she's very, very fast. And you can see, did you use Heatherly for yours?
Yes.
Yes. And so she did follow the stripe pattern, but she brought in a lot of the new brighter colors that we have. And you'll notice her base color is gray. And you can see how different that looks. So it's the exact same stitching. We've got gray here. We've got pink over here on her side. And she's got gray. I've got white. It makes a difference in kind of that overall feeling of how it comes together. I think it's beautiful. I love it with the gray. Kind of wish maybe I would have done gray, but I still like the white.
I like the white too.
It is white, you know.
White is not good for me. I'm accident prone.
Yes.
I just spill coffee on my sweater. So I was like,
Yeah.
let's do it this way.
And did you follow the pattern exactly other than length?
Yes, I followed it almost to the letter.
Okay.
Just added 3 stripes.
Okay.
And I followed the stripe pattern exactly too. I just
Right.
used the 3 colors instead of
Right.
however many the original called for.
Right. So in the original pattern, we have all of these rainbow colors, but you can see here, she's got the red, the orange, and the yellow. And just look at how great that looks. I love it. And you know, the easy way too to figure out the extra length is you're going to start working from the bottom up. So you can work like one section of your color, one of the main color, and measure it and see how much that makes up. And then you can see what the pattern says it's going to be and say, I need 2 extra inches. And you can measure it and see what that equates to in the number of rows. That's going to be the easiest way for you to know how many rows have to get added to the bottom of your sweater. And really, it's not even the bottom. You can kind of add it anywhere up until this point here, where you split to do the little shoulder part, because up until that point, you're just working straight across. So you can kind of add colors wherever you want to it. So your second sweater,
Yes.
did you also do Heatherly?
No, I
No?
used the second one. I used, what is that one? The cotton acrylic blends with the color burst, the color changing thing going on. What is that one called?
Comfy Color Mist?
Yes.
Okay.
Comfy Color Mist.
Oh, I bet that looks great.
It does look really good, and it's kind of a thinner worsted than like a usual. It is a worsted, but
Right.
it's like a little thinner. It feels
It
to
is.
me.
It is.
So it is working up at a bigger gauge, like
Mhm.
bigger stitches, but it's not really a problem. I just
Did
made
you-
a smaller size.
Oh, that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say. So again, look at your gauge. So her gauge was showing her that her stitches were bigger, so she went with a smaller size, and she could measure out how big or small she needed her sweater to be, and then pick the size that was closest to what she needed. So the Comfy Color Mist is really cool because it's a white base with like these little specks of color in it, and I can't wait to see that one. We need pictures
Oh yeah.
so that we can post it. And she started a 3rd one.
I
She
did.
started a 3rd one. And what did you use for that one?
Oh, that was the upcycle alpaca.
The upcycle
blends
alpaca. Do
in
we have
sport.
that one? I don't know that we
I
brought
don't
that
think
one in.
anyone made one out
Anyone
of
else? Okay, but upcycle
But-
alpaca is a phenomenal yarn. It is a recycled yarn, which makes it really great that they take the mill ends, they're spinning it together. If you're getting upcycle alpaca, make sure you get as much as you need for your project. Once those colors sell out, we cannot get them again. We'll get new colors, but they won't be the same because of the recycling process. It just depends on what colors they have and what they can make in those batches. So Carleen is really helping us out with 3 sweaters in different yarns, so we'll really be able to get a view. Did you do the same striping pattern for all of them?
Yes, because I didn't want to think about stripes. I
Yeah.
just wanted to follow the pattern. I didn't want to think about stripes.
Yeah.
And how many stripes I needed to add to make it
Right,
with the neck shaping. I
Right.
just wanted to do it almost exact. I mean, aside from adding the length.
right. And it's
Exactly.
true because of the stitch, it's half double crochet. It makes it really easy to count your rows. So then you can like, I know a couple times I forgot to like mark it off that I did a row, but it makes it easy to go back and count so you know exactly where you are in the pattern. And if you're following that color sequence, you know, oh, I need 4 of this color, 3 of this color, 2 of this color, whatever it might be, you can easily go and count what you have going on.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share about the project? Any pain points, any things to give for tips and tricks as they start their projects?
The only real pain point was that the ribbing at the bottom
Uh-huh.
felt like it took a really long time. So I actually did it flat. So I
Oh.
took the front panel and did the ribbing on the bottom, did the back panel, did
Right.
the ribbing on the bottom, and sewed it up
Very
instead
cool.
of going in a circle.
Right. So
Just
what she's
make it a
saying
little
too
easier.
is the panels come like this, and then the pattern tells you to seam first and then work the ribbing all the way around the bottom. So what she did instead is she did the ribbing on one panel, ribbing on the second panel, and then seamed it together, which is perfectly fine. And if you don't mind turning to the side, she also did like a visible seam here, which I really love too. So how she did that is instead of using like a needle and yarn to sew it up, those are single crochets, right?
Yes.
Single crochets, putting the two fabrics together so it makes a very visible seam, which is a really great other option. I mean, she could have done it here too around the sleeves if she wanted, but I like this smoother look on this, like the body to the arm, but I love it on the side to give it a little bit of an extra detail going on there. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
So that was Carlene. So she works a lot on the back end for us, and she does work with both brands. So you might hear more about her later on. But yeah, she just has been busting out these patterns, and it has been so great. Okay, so who do we have next? Guys, we still have like 3 more people to go here. We have so many fun friends. We have Liz here. Liz is our book designer. So kind of all of the books that you're seeing come out lately, she's the one who's been designing them, but we get to have her promoted, transferred. I don't know. She's staying with our group, but she's going to start doing our emails for us. So you're going to start seeing her work show up a lot more in your inboxes. But all of the books up until this point, well, not all of them, but this year, last year, have been done by Liz. So that's what she's been doing. She's going to start doing emails for us. And then over here we have Isabel. She works for our social media. So she's doing all of our posting to social medias. And anytime you're asking questions there, she is answering those. So like anytime you're here on the live and you're putting in questions later, she's the one answering and checking them all. So we so appreciate both of these ladies on our team. And of course, they had to be difficult and they had to be different. They did not follow the stripe pattern. They did not follow the yarn choices, but they have beautiful, beautiful garments that they're going to share. So why don't you go ahead first, Liz, and share with us. What yarn did you use?
I use Swish DK.
Okay, so again, DK instead of sport.
Mm-hmm.
She had to do a gauge swatch to figure out what size she was going to make based off of her gauge with the yarn that she was using. She did not follow the stripe pattern. Tell us about your stripes.
I just wanted a thinner stripe, so I just went 2 rows for color and 1 row for the white offset. And then I did for the sleeves, just 2 color sleeves, and they're both different.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
So Liz is also still working on the ribbing for her sweater. So she's working along with us. What are you going to do on the bottom? Are you just going to do straight the ribbing just like you did on the top?
And it'll be blue.
Blue.
I like having this nice contrasty color.
I love it too. And again, here's a great example. So she did her panels, she did her sleeve, seamed everything together, and now the ribbing is being added. That's the way the pattern's written. Carlene did it differently, and that's perfectly fine. That was just what she wanted to do. And you can see, please don't, if this is your first garment, don't be afraid. Look at kind of how wrinkly and floppy this is until you get all the way around. It's just going to have a little bit of a flop to it. So yeah, I love it. You want to tell us?
Yeah, I was crocheting while Liz was talking. I just finished my neck ribbing because I'm doing things out of order. Because again, I like to be difficult. I did palette held double, did not follow the striping pattern. The sleeves are also a completely different striping pattern. I also made it very large and oversized because I like a very oversized fit. And I also did the ribbing different where it's front post, back post, which is not what the pattern calls for. But I personally preferred this because it's easier to me to go all the way around.
Right.
And then continue doing that all the way around and closing it in rather than what Liz is doing where it's like the back of it is done, but the front isn't.
Right.
So it's a difference of
So
preference.
Elena did that as well.
Mhm.
And we looked at it. Are you going to do the same thing on your sleeves
Yes.
and on the bottom of your sweater?
Yeah.
Okay. So we did tell everybody we're going to take photos of all that so they can see the difference between this ribbing and that ribbing, just so they can get an idea. This is definitely going to be more textured
Yeah.
with the front post and the back post stitches. This is not going to be as like thick and textury, but they
Yeah.
both look beautiful. Either way is going to work. It's a personal preference. Again,
Yeah.
this one has been worked in the round. This one is worked back and forth in rows, and then you slip stitch into the collar or the neck band section and continue around. So either way is really great. I love the striping here on the sleeves. And yes, you did hear right. She used palette yarn for this one. It's a fingering weight yarn. And that
Very
is why she held it double to be able to get the gauge that she needed to make this sweater. Again, she said she made hers oversized. So she figured out what size she likes to wear, looked at the pattern to find the right number of ease to it, and then made that size based off of her gauge.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. And you can see they both modified that stripe pattern. Again, you just have to figure out how many stripes you want of each color, and then you can combine them. And you can see, excuse me, like a neutral color, and then she's got 2 stripes with one in the middle, and then kind of repeats that up. So really great stripe options. Thanks for sharing, guys.
Yeah.
And Isabel is the one who's also behind the scenes for all of the crochet along stuff. So she's going to be helping us along the way as we keep posting. So make sure you post what you're working on so we can see it too.
Yeah, use the hashtag we see Heatherly Cal.
Yep.
So that way I can see all your things, and then we're hoping to share people's posts. So if you use the hashtag, we can share your post. And if you share the hashtag, you might just get sent a little mystery bag. So just saying, if you like free yarn, use the hashtag.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you can see there's so many different options. We put the hashtag in there, excuse me, so that you guys can follow along. So we've done bright colors, we've done some grays. Now we're getting our earth tone people that are coming in here. So come on in, Regan. This is Regan. Are you our digital designer? He works for KP. He works on the knit side. He does the emails, the banners,
all that good stuff.
anything we need him to do. He did the graphics for the crochet along. So, he's just a jack of all trades around here. And he is, I don't even know what to call you, a sweater machine.
Sure.
So he knits like a sweater in a week. And so, this was like nothing for him to crochet up a sweater too. But what yarn? This is your second one?
Yes, it was.
So you and Carlene are just,
We're just out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take it.
Yeah.
What yarn did you use for yours?
I copied Hillary. This is Capra.
Okay.
So Capra DK.
Yeah, which I
Yep.
think we have
Yes,
right here.
yes. My color.
Yes.
Excellent.
It's beautiful. And
Thank
you can
you.
see too, for Regan, he did not do the stripe pattern. He did mostly the one color and then added a color stripes up here at the top. There's one stripe down at the bottom with the ribbing. Did you change anything in the pattern?
So the pattern is kind of like a wide boat neck type of thing, which I wasn't a huge fan of. So I did actually take in a few stitches on the collar to make it more,
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit tighter here in the neck instead of a little bit more open, which
Yes.
is great.
Yeah. Other
Wonderful.
than that, I might have made it a little bit longer because the pattern is more of a crop top
Yes.
sort of thing. So I made it longer for myself.
Yeah.
Other
I
than
think we
that-
all did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you decrease in the ribbing or did you add in more shaping?
I did the decreases the same way.
No, when you brought in the neck, did you bring in the more shaping?
Into the, Jen's in the background
Sorry.
asking questions. So you do your shaping here
Yes.
to get your neck opening.
Yes,
So
yes,
did
yes.
you come in further?
Yes.
Okay.
I went in like a few stitches on each side, a little bit further in.
Great. So
Yeah.
he made a smaller neck hole here and then just used that to do his ribbing. He didn't change anything on the ribbing. He changed right here this number of stitches that you don't work on that last stripe when you're making, what do we call them? The neck shaping
The neck
section.
shaping.
Is what he did. So great question, Jen. Thank you. That just explains it. So yeah, if you want a little bit of a tighter neck, you could do that. You could also make your ribbing slightly longer if you wanted to, or you could try to add some decreases in here to kind of slip stitch into more rows than what is called for. What did you make your other one in?
Woda, actually. Yeah.
What colors were they? Same
They
palette?
were red, brown, and like a light brown.
We need to get a photo of that.
Yeah,
Woda,
yeah.
just so you know, that's like what we call it. It's wool of the Andes.
I will say I did it in worsted, though we do have wood of sports,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that should be fine.
In Wool of the Andes, we have a worsted, we have a superwash, we have a sport, we have a tweed, we have a bulky,
Yeah.
superwash bulky. I don't know, there's a lot. It's a beautiful wool yarn that you're gonna love. We should remind people, even too with the Capra, you're not going, right, does it say, yeah, hand wash. So for the Capra and the Wool of the Andes, those are gonna be hand wash options other than the superwash, where Heatherly is a machine washable yarn if you want it to be. I really don't machine wash any of my crochet garments. I hand wash them
Same.
and soak them just to be sure, but please just check the labels of the yarn before you use it to make sure you're blocking the proper way so that your garment stays in beautiful shape. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
with
Yeah,
us.
of course.
How many more are you going to make before the end of the crochet alone?
5.
I bet.
Yeah.
One a day, right?
Thank you, Katelyn.
Thank you. And then last but not least, we have Jen, who you guys all know and love from our lives. And you can see she also went with an earthy watercolor theme. Sure. And what yarn did you use?
I'm in Heatherly.
Heatherly also. So again, like Regan, Jen did a larger section of one color and then kind of did her color blocking stripes up here at the top. I love it. Guys, it's so easy to adjust this pattern for your color preferences because it's one stitch worked back and forth in rows. Count how many rows or just work it and say, all right, I'm done with this color. Or maybe you use one ball or half a ball of yarn. You could weigh it out or something like that. So you know your front and your back are going to match. So many different ways that you can do it. Your ribbing is different.
My ribbing is different. I in the interest of getting mine done quickly, additionally, I struggle with a crochet ribbing, and I love that I saw Isabel did the front post ribbing,
Yes.
which I love because it's a different way to do it that gives you a ribbing texture.
Yes.
I probably knit a lot more than I crochet, so I crochet or I knit on my ribbing.
Mhm.
I single strand my cuffs. And my hem is also a single strand.
Okay.
And then I double stranded my neck.
And it makes a difference. We can take a photo of this and share it, but when you see it, this is a much denser fabric up in the top because it's held double than it is with her collar, or excuse me, her cuffs and her bottom ribbing.
Yeah.
They both look great. It's totally a different preference. I will say, I do like the double stranding of it because it matches the fabric density of the crochet stitches,
Yes.
which looks, I'm not knocking the single strand. It still looks great if you want to do it, but I do like that choice that you made there at the top.
Yeah, I wanted a bit more structure, and I wasn't sure how thick the ribbing was going to be. So quite honestly, I put on the cuffs first because I always do the cuffs first, and I thought, oh, it looks fine. And then when I did the bottom hem, I didn't love it. And then when I did the neck, I did the neck last, and double stranded it for the structure and the sturdiness, and am now struggling with, am I going to go pull the other ribbons off?
Yeah,
We'll see.
we'll see. There is a question here from Maria. Is there a way to figure out yardage requirements if we choose to use a DK yarn instead of sport, or is the amount about the same? Do a gauge swatch, and that's going to tell you for sure. If your gauge is matching, it's going to end up being about the same yardage. I would always suggest that if you're changing the yarn compared to what's in the pattern, always get an extra ball. If not because yardage changes, because you're probably going to have to do some extra gauge swatches to make sure you're hitting the gauge that you need. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. In theory, rule of thumb is heavier weight, larger needle, less yardage. But gauge swatch is key.
Right.
And like in the fabric is key.
Right.
And then, you can sort of figure out from there. And then for me, because I didn't follow the striping pattern at all, it was a complete guesstimate of how much yarn I was going to need. I knew I was not going to need a lot of my cuff color because I have a tiny stripe here, and it's my cuffs. and a tiny stripe here, and really
Right.
that was it. So I knew I was not going to need a lot of that.
Right.
So if there's a yarn that you love, that you have something at home and you've got, some scraps, this would also be a good way to,
Yes.
use up some scraps as well.
Yeah, it really would be, especially too, like you could be making a blanket from Heatherly, you have your leftovers, and just kind of figure out your stripes or just work it. If you are going to use scraps, I highly recommend getting a kitchen scale to weigh it out, so that as you work your front panel, you're only using half of the amount of yarn you have, so that you still have it for your front panel. It gets a little bit more tricky too if you want it in your sleeve, because it doesn't quite use as much as the front and back, but you can do some math to figure that all out. But that is the best way to do it when using scraps, to make sure you can get matching on front and back if that's what you want. You don't
And
have to match.
Great tip. And you can also, when you're looking at the numbers, if you've used a quarter of the amount for the front and a quarter of the amount for the back, and so you have half left over, you could just divide that in half and do a smaller
Right.
stripe on the sleeve.
Right.
And so you can just sort of, and weight is easy to figure out.
That is
More
a great
than-
option too. If you want it into your sleeve, do a quarter front, a quarter back, and then keep the rest of it half and half for your two sleeves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're all busy making, or some of us have finished, I'm busy making, but we're so excited about this crochet along. We hope you're joining us. Again, it's a free pattern over on our website. We will put the link in there. Grab your Heatherly yarn. It's 20% off right now. The perfect time to go and grab it and join us. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for joining us. So